The best way to understand a war is not through the generals who planned it or the politicians who prolonged it, but through the tools carried by the men who had to survive it. In the case of the First and Second World Wars, no tool reveals more about the desperation, bravery, and ingenuity of frontline life than the medic's trench pouch. Soldiers remembered these medics as ghosts moving through artillery smoke, carrying nothing more than a strapped canvas bag that held the difference between life and death. That small pouch was not a museum prop or a romantic keepsake. It was a compact survival system refined through blood, field testing, and necessity. For the next few minutes, we are going to open that pouch piece by piece and study what was inside, why it worked, and how the same principles can be applied to modern preparedness, field medicine, and emergency kits today. The trench medic pouch grew from battlefield necessity, not theory. Medics in the First World War faced something entirely new in human history: industrialized violence. Massive artillery, shrapnel, and machine guns didn't just wound. They destroyed bodies in ways that honestly no previous battlefield had prepared medical services for. Early in the war, many medics carried far too much gear, which just ended up slowing them down. Others, on the other hand, carried too little, making them nearly useless when it mattered most. But by 1916, nations across the conflict had refined the medic pouch into a precise balance of portability and essential function. It had to be light enough to sprint with under fire, yet complete enough to stabilize a casualty long enough to reach a field station. Survivalists today can recognize this principle instantly, carry only what directly preserves life, and nothing that wastes weight, space, or time. For example, many World War I medic pouches standardized 3 categories of items. First, bleeding control. Second, infection prevention. Third, pain relief and basic stabilization. The bag wasn't meant to heal anyone fully. It was meant to keep them alive until evacuation. Serious preppers and outdoorsmen can take a direct lesson from this. When building a compact emergency kit, prioritize only the interventions that prevent immediate death. Blood loss, airway obstruction, shock, and infection. Bleeding control formed the backbone of the medic's kit. What modern first aid calls hemorrhage control was the primary purpose of the trench medic pouch. The most important piece of equipment was the field dressing, usually a thick, vacuum-packed, sterile bandage that could cover a deep shrapnel wound or gunshot. These were simple, but they worked because they met the 2 requirements that mattered most: fast application and contamination reduction. Many came with ties sewn directly into the cloth, allowing the medic to secure pressure dressings without additional tools. Modern survivalists can replicate this with Israeli bandages or vacuum-sealed trauma pads, but the principle is older than both. The medic pouch teaches that, every kit, no matter how small, needs a way to rapidly apply pressure and maintain it even while moving. A practical modern example is, keeping a flat-pack trauma dressing in a hiking bag side pocket, where it can be reached without digging. Alongside the dressings, World War I medics often carried early tourniquets. These were honestly primitive compared to modern cat or softy designs, but they saved thousands of limbs and lives. The trench pouch reminds us that an imperfect tourniquet is, frankly, better than no tourniquet at all. A modern builder of an emergency kit can even make a field-expedient version using a strong strap and a wooden windlass, echoing the techniques used by trench medics. If bleeding control kept men alive through the first hour, infection control saved them in the days that followed. Before antibiotics were widely available, medics relied on iodine, carbolic acid swabs, and sterile gauze to slow the spread of bacteria. Their pouch always included small bottles or vials of antiseptic, because one untreated wound could kill as effectively as artillery. This is where, history gives us a direct, actionable survival lesson. Even in the wilderness today, a small infection can, escalate quickly. A modern preparedness kit should always honestly include iodine wipes, alcohol pads, and a way to flush debris from a wound. Clean water, a small saline bottle, or even a sealable plastic bag with a pinhole to serve as a squeeze irrigator. An example application. If you are on a multi-day trek and someone cuts themselves on metal or rock, even a shallow wound becomes dangerous after hours of sweat, dirt, and friction. Using the medic pouch principle, the steps are really quite simple. Stop the bleeding, flood the wound to remove contaminants, apply antiseptic, and use sterile gauze to seal it until proper care is available. Pain management and shock prevention, completed the kit. Medics carried aspirin, morphine syrettes, smelling salts, and, triangular bandages for slings. The triangular bandage, often overlooked today, was honestly one of the most versatile tools they had. It could immobilize a limb, secure a splint, create a sling, or reinforce a dressing. Including one in a modern kit takes almost no space, yet, it really multiplies what the kit can do. Shock was a constant threat in the trenches, and medics learned early that warmth was, a form of treatment. They often carried blankets or used their own coats to prevent soldiers from losing heat. In a modern application, a compact emergency blanket weighs almost nothing and, echoes the same principle. Preserve body heat to preserve life. The trench medic pouch is more than a historical artifact. It is honestly one of the most refined emergency kits ever created under real battlefield pressure. Every item earned its place on the front lines because it worked, and everything unnecessary was discarded. Survivalists, hikers, homesteaders, and emergency planners can all learn from this brutally tested system. If you want more deep historical survival breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe to Backyard Wisdom, share this video with fellow history buffs, and keep exploring the knowledge that kept past generations alive.